Okay, good morning, everybody. Afternoon, wherever you are. This is Nanette Kennedy with Evolution, Revolution, and Humanities Team. And we are reading Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God, Book 3. And we are on Chapter 12. And I know we all have different books, so you'll have to find the page. I've got a volume that's got Book 2 and 3. So in my book, it's on page 289, but it'll probably be different for you. And Linda is going to read for us, and we appreciate the fact that you read for us, Linda. And let's get started.
Okay. So this is Chapter 12, Conversations with God, Book 3. This is Neil. I'm filled with awe and reverence at the reading of those words. Thank you for being here with me in this way. Thank you for being here with all of us. For millions have read the words in these dialogues, and millions more will yet to do so. And we are breathlessly gifted by the coming of you to our hearts. My dearest beings, I've always been in your hearts. I am only glad that you can now actually feel me there. I've always been with you. I've never left you. I am you, and you are me, and we shall never be separated, ever, because that's not possible. Yet in some ways, I feel so terribly alone. At some moments, I feel that I'm fighting this battle by myself. That's because you have left me, my child. You have abandoned your awareness of me. Yet where there is awareness of me, you can never be alone. How can I stay in my awareness? Bring your awareness to others. Not by proselytizing, but by example. Be the source of the love which I am in the lives of all others. For that which you give to others, you give to yourself, because there's only one of us. Thank you. Yes, you've given me that clue before. Be the source. Whatever you want to experience in yourself, you have said, be the source of it in lives of others. Yes, that is the great secret. This is the sacred wisdom.
Excuse me, Linda.
Yeah?
You seem to be breaking up. Anybody else hear that? Well, maybe it's my connection. So I'll just be quiet. Go ahead.
I'll do a couple of things. Let me just, for the sake of the moment, shut down the browsers that are in the background. Maybe that'll help. Okay. Thank you. Yes, you've given me that clue before. Be the source. Whatever you want to experience in yourself, you have said, be the source of it in the lives of others. Yes, this is the great secret. This is the sacred wisdom. Do unto others as you would have it done unto you. All of your problems, all of your conflicts, all of your difficulties in creating a life on your planet of peace and joy are based in your failure to understand this simple instruction and to follow it. I get it. Once more, you have said it so plainly, so clearly that I get it. I will never try to lose it. I will try to never lose it again. You cannot lose that which you give away. Always remember that. Thank you. May I ask a few more questions now about the soul? I have one more general comment about life as you're living it. Please. You just said there are times when you feel as though you're fighting this battle by yourself. Yes. What battle? It was a figure of speech. I think not. I think it is a real indicator of how you and many people really think of life. You have it in your head that it's a battle, that there's some kind of struggle going on here. Well, it seemed that way to me many times. Sometimes. It's not that way inherently, and it doesn't have to seem that way ever. You'll forgive me, but that's hard to believe, which is exactly why it hasn't been your reality. For if you will make real what you believed is real, for what you will make real what you believe, for you will make real what you believe is real. Yet I will tell you this. Your life was never meant to be a struggle, and doesn't have to be now or ever. I have given you the tools with which to create the grandest reality. You have simply chosen not to use them, or to be more accurate, you have misused them. The tools I'm referring to here are the 3 tools of creation. We've talked about them much in our ongoing dialogue. Do you know what they are? Thought, word, and action. Good, you remembered. I once inspired Mildred Hinckley, a spiritual teacher of mine, to say, quote, "You were born with the creative power of the universe at the tip of your tongue." That is a statement of astonishing implications, as is the truth from another of my teachers. Quote, "As thou hast believed, so it be done unto you." So those 2 statements have to do with thought and word. Another of my teachers has had this to say about action. The beginning is God. The end is action. Action is God creating or God experienced. Yeah, you said that in book 1. Book 1 was brought through you, my son, just as all great teachings have been inspired by me and brought through human forms. Those who allow such inspirations to move them and who fearlessly share them publicly are my greatest teachers. I'm not sure I would put myself in that category. The words you have been inspired to share have touched millions. Millions, my son. They've been translated into 24 languages. They've reached around the world. By what measure would you grant the status of great teacher? By the measure of one's actions, not one's words. That's a very wise answer. And my actions in this lifetime do not speak well of me, and certainly do not qualify me as a teacher. You've just written off half of the teachers that ever lived. What are you saying? I'm saying what I said through Judith Sockman in A Course of Miracles. You teach what you have to learn. Do you believe that you must be demonstrating perfection before you can teach how to reach it? And while you may have made your share of what you call mistakes, more than my share, you have also shown great courage in bringing this conversation with me forward. Yeah, or great foolhardiness. Why do you insist on putting yourself down like that? You all do it, every one of you. You deny your own greatness as you deny the existence of me in you. Not me, I've never denied it. What? Well, not recently. I tell you, before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. Every thought of yourself, as smaller than you really are, is a denial of me. Every word about yourself that puts you down is a denial of me. Every action flowing through yourself that plays out a role of not good enough, or lack, or insufficiency of any kind is a denial indeed. Not just in thought, not just in word, but in deed. I really do not allow yourself to represent anything but the grandest vision of the greatest vision, the grandest version of the greatest vision you have ever had about who you are. Now, what is the greatest vision you've ever had for yourself? Is it not that you would one day be a great teacher? Well, isn't it? Yes. Then so be it. And so it is, until you once again deny it. I won't deny it again. You won't? No. Prove it. Prove it? Prove it. How? Say right now, I am a great teacher. Go ahead, say it. I am. You see, the problem is all of this is going to be published. And I'm aware that everything I'm writing on this legal pad is going to appear in print somewhere. People in Peoria are going to be reading this. Peoria? Ha! Try Beijing. Okay, China too. But that's my point. People have been asking me, bugging me about book 3 since the month after book 2 came out. I've tried to explain why it's taken so long. I've tried to get them to understand what it's like having this dialogue when you know the whole world is watching, waiting. It's not like this. It's not like this was book 1 and book 2. Both of those were dialogues conducted in a void. I never even knew they would be books. Yes, you did. In your heart of hearts, you did. Well, maybe I hoped they'd be, but now I know, and it's different writing on this legal pad. Because now you know everyone will be reading every word you write. Yes, and now you want me to say I'm a great teacher, and it's difficult in front of all these people. You want I should ask you to declare yourself in private? Is that how you think you empower yourself? I asked you to declare who you are in public, precisely because you are in public here. The whole idea is to get you to say it in public. Public declaration is the highest form of visioning. Live the grandest version of the greatest vision you've ever had about who you are. Begin the living of it by declaring it publicly. The first step in making it so is saying it is so. But what of modesty? What of decorum? Is it seemly to declare our grandest idea about ourselves to everyone we see? Every great master has done so. Yes, but not arrogantly. How arrogant is, quote, I am the life and the way? Is that arrogant enough for you? Now, you just said you would never deny me again, yet you've spent the last 10 minutes just trying to do just that. I'm not denying you. We're talking here about my greatest vision. Your greatest vision of you is me. That's who I am. When you deny the greatest part of you, you deny me. And I tell you, before the dawn tomorrow, you will do it this 3 times. Unless I don't. Unless you don't. That's right. And only you can decide. Only you can choose. Now, do you know of any great teacher who was ever a great teacher in private? The Buddha, Jesus, Krishna were all teachers in public, no? Yes, but there are great teachers who are not widely known. My mother was one. You just said so earlier. It's not necessary to be widely known to be a great teacher. Your mother was a harbinger, a messenger, a preparer of the way. She prepared you for the way by showing you the way. Yet you too are a teacher. And as great a teacher as you know your mother to be, she apparently did not teach you never to deny yourself. Yet this you will teach others. Oh, I want to so badly. That is what I want to do. Do not want to. You may not have what you want. You may merely declare what you are in want of it. And that's where you will be left. You will be left wanting. I have to pause and clear my throat. Hang on.
You're on mute, Linda.
I figured that out. Sorry. All right, okay. I don't want to. I choose to. That's better. That's much better. Now, what do you choose? I choose to teach others never to deny themselves. Good. And what else do you teach? I choose to teach others never to deny you, God, because to deny you is to deny themselves, and to deny themselves is to deny you. Good. And do you choose to teach this haphazardly, almost by chance, or do you choose to teach this grandly, as if on purpose? I choose to teach it on purpose, grandly, as my mother did. And my mother did teach me never to deny myself. She taught it to me every day. She was the greatest encourager I ever had. She taught me to have faith in myself and in you. I should be such a teacher. I choose to be such a teacher of all the great wisdoms my mom taught me. She made her whole life a teaching, not just her words. That's what makes a great teacher. You're right. Your mother was a great teacher, and you were right in your larger truth. And you were right in your larger truth. A person does not have to be widely known to be a great teacher. I was testing you. I wanted to see where you'd go with this. And did I go where I was supposed to? You went where all great teachers go, to your own wisdom, to your own truth. That is the place to which you must always go, for it is the place you must turn around and come from as you teach the world. I know. Yeah, this I know. And is your deepest truth, and what is your deepest truth about who you are? I am a great teacher of eternal truth. There you have it. Calmly said, softly spoken, there you have it. You know the truth of it in your heart, and you have only spoken your heart. You are not boasting, and no one will hear it as boasting. You are not bragging, and no one will hear it as bragging. You are not beating your chest, you are opening your heart, and there is a big difference. Everyone knows who they are in their heart. They are a great ballerina, or a great lawyer, or a great actor, or a great first baseman. They are a great detective, or a great salesperson, or a great parent, or a great architect, a great poet, or a great leader, a great builder, or a great healer. And they are, each and every one, a great person. Everyone knows who they are in their heart. If they open their heart, if they share with others their heart's desires, if they live in their heartfelt truth, they fill the world with magnificence. You are a great teacher. And where do you suppose that gift comes from? You. And so, when you declare yourself to be who you are merely declaring who I am. Always declare me as source, and no one will mind you declaring yourself as great. Yet you've always urged me to declare myself as source. You are the source of everything I am. The great teacher with whom you are most familiar in your life said, I am the life and the way. He also said, all these things come to me from the Father. Without the Father, I am nothing. And he also said, I and the Father are one. Do you understand? There's only one of us. Exactly. Which brings us back to the human soul. Can I now ask some more questions about the soul? Go. Okay. How many souls are there? One. Yes, in the largest sense, but how many individual of the all that of the one all that is there are there? Say, I like that word there. I like the way you've used that word. The one energy that is all energy individuates itself into many different parts. I like that. I'm glad. So how many individuations did you create? How many souls are there? I cannot answer that question in terms you would understand. Well, try me. Is it a constant number? Is it a changing number? An infinite number? Have you created new souls since the original batch? Yes, it is a constant number. Yes, it is a changing number. Yes, it is an infinite number. Yes, I have created new souls. And no, I have not. Oh, I don't understand. I know. So help me. Did you actually say that? Say what? So help me God. Okay, he hit clever. Okay, I'm going to understand this if it's the last thing I do. So help me God. I will. You're very determined, so I will help you. Although I warn you that this is difficult to grasp or understand the infinite from perspective that is finite. We will nevertheless give it a whirl. Coolness. Yes, coolness. Well, let's begin by noticing that your questions infer that a reality that exists called time. In truth, there is no such reality. There is only one moment, and that is the eternal moment of now. All things that have ever happened are happening now, and will ever happen are occurring in this moment. Nothing has happened before, because there is no before. Nothing will happen after, because there is no after. It is always and only right now. In the right now of things, I am constantly changing. The number of ways in which I individuate, I like your word, is therefore always different and always the same. Given that there is only now, the number of souls is always constant. But given that you like to think of now in terms of now and then, it is always changing. We touched on this earlier when we spoke of reincarnation and lower life forms and how souls come back. Since I'm always changing, the number of souls is infinite, yet at any given point, it appears to be finite. And yes, there are new souls in the sense that they have allowed themselves, having reached ultimate awareness and unified with ultimate reality, to voluntarily forget and everything and start over. They have decided to move to a new place on the cosmic wheel, and some have chosen to be young souls again. Yet all souls are part of the original batch, since all being created, were created, will be created, in the only moment of now. So the number is finite and infinite, changing and unchanged, depending on how you look at it. Because of all of this characteristic of ultimate reality, I am often called the unmoved mover. I am that which is always moving and has never moved, is always changing and has never changed. Okay, I get it. Nothing is absolute with you, except that everything is absolute. Unless it's not. Exactly, precisely. You do get it. Bravo. Well, the truth is, I think I've always understood this stuff. Yes. Except when I haven't. That's right. Unless it's not. Exactly. Who's on first? No, what's on first? Who's on second? Ta-da! So you're Abbott and I'm Costello, and it's all just a cosmic vaudeville show. Except when it's not. There are moments and events you may want to take very seriously. Unless I don't. Unless you don't. So returning once again to the subject of souls. Boy, that's a great book title there. The Subject of Souls. Maybe we'll do that one. Are you kidding? We already have. Unless we haven't. That's true. Unless it's not. You never know, except when you do. You see, you're getting this. You're remembering now how it really is, and you're having fun with it. You're returning to now to living lightly. You're lightening up. This is what it's meant by enlightenment. Cool. Very cool, which means you're hot. Yep, that's called living within the contradiction. You've talked about it many times. Now getting back to the subject of souls. What's the difference between an old soul and a young soul? A body of energy, that is to say, a part of me, can conceive itself as young or old, depending on what it chooses after it reaches ultimate awareness. When they return to the cosmic wheel, some souls choose to be old souls, and some choose to be young. Indeed, if the experience called young did not exist, neither would the experience called old. So some souls have volunteered to be called young, and some to be called old, so that the old soul, which is really all there is, could know itself completely. Similarly, some souls have chosen to be good and some to be bad for exactly the same reason. And this is why no soul is ever punished. For why would one soul want to punish a part of itself for being a portion of the whole? This is all really beautifully explained in the children's storybook, The Little Soul and the Little Sun, which lays it out simply for a child to understand. You have a way of putting things so eloquently, of articulating terribly complex concepts so clearly that even a child can understand. Thank you. So here comes another question about souls. Are there such things as soul partners? Yes, but not the way you think of them. What's different? Well, you've romanticized the soul partner to mean the other half of you. In truth, the human soul, the part of me that individuates, is much larger than you have imagined. In other words, what I call the soul is bigger than you think. Much bigger. It is not the air in one room. It is the air in the entire house. And that house has many rooms. The soul is not limited to one identity. It is not the air in the dining room, nor does the soul split into two individuals who are called soul partners. It is not the air in the living room, dining room combination. It is the air in the whole mansion. And in my kingdom, there are many mansions. And while it is the same air flowing around, in, and through every mansion, the air of the rooms in one mansion may feel closer. You may walk into those rooms and say, it feels dense in here. So that you understand then there is only one soul, yet what you call the individuated soul is huge, hovering over and through hundreds of physical forms. At the same time, there is no such thing as time. We can only answer this by saying yes and no. Some of the physical forms enveloped by your soul are living now in your understanding. Other individuated in forms that are now what you would call dead. And some have enveloped forms that live in what you call the future. It's all happening right now, of course, and yet your contrivance called time serves as a tool, allowing you a greater sense of the realized experience. So these hundreds of physical bodies, my soul has enveloped, that's an interesting word you've used, are called my soul partners. That's closer to being accurate than the way you've been using the term, yes. And some of my soul partners have lived before. Yes, as you would describe it, yes. Whoa, hold it. I think I just got something here. Are these parts of me that have lived before what I would now describe as my former lives? Good thinking. Yes, you're getting it. Yes. Some of these are the other lives you've lived before, and some are not. And other parts of your soul are enveloping bodies that will be alive in what you call your future. And still others are embodied in different forms on your planet right now. When you run into one of these, you may feel an immediate sense of affinity. Sometimes you may even say, we must have spent a past life together. And you would be right. You would have spent a past life together, either as the same physical form or as two forms in the same space-time continuum. This is fabulous. This explains everything. Yes, it does. Except one thing. What's that? How about when I just know that I've spent a past life with someone? I just know it. I feel it in my bones. And yet when I mention this to them, they feel none of it at all. What's that about? It's about you're confusing the past with the future. Huh? You have spent another life with them. It's just not a past life. It's a future life? Precisely. It's all happening in the eternal moment of now, and you have an awareness of what, in a sense, has not yet happened. Well, then why don't they remember the future too? Well, these are very subtle vibrations, and some of you are more sensitive to them than others. Also, from person to person, it's different. You may be more sensitive to your past or future experience with another person than another, with one person than another. This usually means you've spent that other time as part of your very huge soul enveloping the same body. Whereas when there is still that sensation of having met before, but not just a strong of one, it may mean that you shared the same time together, but not the same body. Perhaps you were or will be husband and wife, brother and sister, parent and child, lover and beloved. These are strong bonds, and it's natural that you would feel them when you meet again for the first time in this life. Okay, if what you're saying is true, it would account for a phenomenon which I have never been able to account. The phenomenon of more than one person in this lifetime claiming to have memories of being Joan of Arc or Mozart or some other famous person from the past. I've always thought this was proof for those who say that reincarnation is a false doctrine. For how could more than one person claim to have been the same person before? But now I see how this is possible. All that has happened is that several of the sentient beings now being enveloped by one soul are remembering, becoming members once again with the part of their single soul which was or is now Joan of Arc. Good heavens, this blows the lid off of all limitations and makes all things possible. The minute I catch myself in the future saying, that's impossible, I'll know that all I'm doing is demonstrating that there's a great deal I don't know. That's a good thing to remember. That's a very good thing to remember. And if we can have more than one soul partner, that would explain how it is possible for us to experience those intense soul partner feelings with more than one person in a lifetime, and even more than one person at a time. Indeed. Then it is possible to love more than one person at a time. Well, of course. No, I mean with that intense personal love that we usually reserve for one person, or at least one person at a time. Why would you ever want to reserve love? Why would you want to hold it in reserve? Well, because it's not right to love more than one person that way. It's a betrayal. Who told you that? Well, everybody. Everybody tells me that. My parents told me that. My religion tells me that. My society tells me that. Everybody tells me that. These are some of those sins of the father being passed on to the son. Your own experience teaches you one thing, that loving everyone full out is the most joyful thing you can do. Yet your parents, teachers, ministers tell you something else, that you may only love one person at a time that way. And we're not just talking about sex here. If you consider one person as special as another in any way, you are often made to feel that you have betrayed that other. Right, exactly. That's how we've got it set up. Then you are not expressing true love, but some counterfeit variety. So to what extent will true love be allowed to express itself within the framework of human experience? What limits shall we, indeed, should we say? Indeed, some would say we place on that expression. If all social and sexual energies were to be unleashed without restriction, what would be the result? Is complete social and sexual freedom the abdication of all responsibility, or the absolute height of it? Well, any attempt to restrict the natural expressions of love is a denial of the experience of freedom, and thus a denial of the soul itself. For the soul is freedom personified. God is freedom by definition, for God is limitless and without restriction of any kind. The soul is God miniaturized. Therefore, the soul rebels at any imposition of limitation and dies a new death each time it accepts boundaries from without. In this sense, birth itself is a death, and death a birth. For in birth, the soul finds itself contradicted within the awful limitations of a body, and at death, escapes those contradictions again. It does the same thing during sleep. Back to freedom, the soul flies and rejoices once again with the expression and experience of its true nature. Yet can its true nature be expressed and experienced while with the body? That is the question you ask, and it drives to the very reason and purpose of life itself. For if life with the body is nothing more than a prison or a limitation, then what good can come of it? And what can its function, much less its, and what can be its function, much less its justification? Yes, I suppose that is what I'm asking. And I ask on behalf of all beings everywhere who have felt the awful contradictions of the human experience. And I am not speaking now of physical limitations. I know you're not. But of emotional and psychological ones. Yes, I know, I understand. Yet your concerns all relate to the larger question. Yes, all right, still, let me finish. All my life, I have been deeply frustrated by the world's inability to let me love everyone in exactly the way I've wanted to. When I was young, it was about not talking to strangers, not saying things inappropriately. I remember once I was walking down the street with my father, and we came across a poor man begging for coins. I immediately felt sorry for the man, and I wanted to give him some of the pennies in my pocket. And my father stopped me and brushed me past. Trash, he said. That's just trash. That was my father's label for all those who did not live up to his definitions of what it meant to be humans of worth. Later, I remember an experience of my brother, my older brother, who was no longer living with us, not being allowed into the house on Christmas Eve because of some argument he'd had with my father. I loved my brother, and I wanted him to be with us that night, but my father stopped him on the front porch and barred him from entering the home. My mother was devastated. It was her son from a previous marriage. And I was simply mystified. How could we not love or want my brother on Christmas Eve simply because of an argument? What kind of disagreement could be so bad that it would be allowed to ruin Christmas, when even wars are suspended for a 24-hour truce? This, my little 7-year-old heart begged to know. And as I grew older, I learned that it's not just anger that stopped love from flowing, but also fear. This was why we oughtn't to talk to strangers, but not just when we were defenseless children, also when we're adults. I learned that it's not okay to openly and eagerly meet and greet strangers, and that there were certain etiquette that had to be followed with people to whom you've just been introduced, none of which made sense to me. I wanted to know everything about that new person, and I wanted them to know everything about me, but no, rules said we had to wait. And now in my adult life, when sexuality enters into it, I've learned that the rules are even more rigid and limiting, and I still don't get it. I find that I just want to love and be loved, that I just want to love everyone in whatever way feels natural to me, in whatever way feels good. Yet society has its rules and regulations about all of this. So rigid are they that even if the other person who is involved agrees to an experience, if society doesn't agree, those two lovers are called wrong and are thus doomed. What is that? What is that all about? Well, you've said it yourself. Fear. It's all about fear. Yes, but are these fears justified? Aren't these restrictions and constrictions only appropriate given the behaviors of our race? I mean, a man meets a younger woman, falls in love or in lust and with her and leaves his wife, for instance. I use only one example. So there she is, left with the kids, no employment skills at 39 or 43, or worse yet, left high and dry at 64 by a 68-year-old man who's become enamored of a woman younger than his daughter. Is it you're supposing that the man you describe has ceased to love his 64-year-old wife? Well, he sure acts like it. No, it is not his wife he does not love and seeks to escape. It is the limitations he's placed on him. He feels placed on him. Oh, nonsense. It's lust, pure and simple. It's an old geezer, simply trying to recapture his youth, wanting to be a younger person, unable to curb his childish appetites, keep his promise to the partner who's remained with him through all the tough and lean years. Of course, you've described it perfectly. Yet nothing you've said has changed a thing that I've said. In virtually every case, this man has not stopped loving his wife. It is the limitations his wife places on him, or those placed on him by a younger woman, that will have nothing to do with him if he stays with the wife, that creates the rebellion. The point I'm trying to make is that the soul will always rebel at limitation of any kind. That is what has sparked every revolution in the history of mankind. Not just the revolution which causes a man to leave his wife, or a wife to suddenly leave her husband, which, by the way, also happens. Well, now, surely you're not arguing for the complete abolition of behavioral limitations of any kind. That would be behavioral anarchy, social chaos. Surely you are not advocating for people having affairs or, taking my breath away, open marriage. I do not advocate or fail to advocate anything. I am not for or against anything. The human race keeps trying to make me for or against kind of God, and I am not that. I merely observe what is so. I simply watch you create your own systems of right and wrong, for and against, and I look to see whether your current ideas about that serve you, given what you say you choose and desire as a species and as individuals. Now, to the question of open marriage. I'm not for or against open marriage. Whether you are or not depends on what you decide you want in and out of your marriage. And your decision about that creates who you are with regard to the experience you call marriage. For it is, as I have told you, every act is an act of self-definition. When making any decision, it is important to make sure the right question is being answered. The question with regard to so-called open marriage, for instance, is not, shall we have an open marriage where sexual conduct by both parties with persons outside the marriage is allowed? The question is, who am I and who are we with regard to the experience of marriage? The answer to that question will be found in the answer to life's largest question, who am I, period. With regard to anything, in relationship to anything, who am I and who do I choose to be? As I have said repeatedly throughout this dialogue, the answer to that question is the answer to every question. God, that frustrates me, because the answer to that question is so broad and so general that it answers no other question at all. Oh, really? Then what is your answer to that question? Well, according to these books, according to what you seem to be saying in this dialogue, I am love. That is who I really am. Excellent. You have learned. That is correct. You are love. Love is all there is. So you are love, I am love, and there is nothing which is not love. What about fear? Fear is that which you are not. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear is the opposite of love, which you have created in your reality so that you may know experientially that which you are. This is what is true in the relative world of your experience. In the absence of that which you are not, that which you are is not. Yes, we've been through this a number of times now in our dialogue, but it feels as though you have evaded my complaint. I said that the answer to the question of who we are, which is love, is so broad as to render it a non-answer. It is no answer at all to almost any other question. You say it is the answer to every question, and I say it is not the answer to any, much less those one specific as, should your marriage be an open marriage? If that is true for you, it is because you do not know what love is. Well, does anybody? The human race has been trying to figure that one out since the beginning of time, which doesn't exist. Which doesn't exist. Yes, I know, it's a figure of speech. Let me see if I can find, using your figure of speech, some words and some ways that will explain what love is. Super, that would be great. I'm just looking at the time, and we've got like 6 minutes left. Should I just keep going? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to suggest, excuse me, that we keep going. And at the top of the hour, which is 5 minutes from now, we'll stop you.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask that everybody read this chapter again before we meet next time so that we can have a real full discussion about all the things that are being said.
Okay. Should I keep going and try and finish it?
No, because I think there's like 10 more pages.
Okay.
So right around 1 o'clock, the top of the hour,
Okay.
let's just wind it up and take it from there.
Okay.
I didn't realize this chapter was so long.
Okay, so the first word that comes to mind is unlimited. That which is love is unlimited. Well, we're right where we were when we opened this subject. We're going around in circles. Circles are good. Don't berate them. Keep circling. Keep circling around the question. Circling is okay. Repeating is okay. Revisiting, restating is okay. I sometimes get impatient. Sometimes? That's pretty funny. Okay, get on with what you were saying. Love is that which is unlimited. There is no beginning and no end to it. No before and no after. No before and no after. Love always was, always is, and always will be. So love is also always. It's always reality. Now, we get back to another word you used before, freedom. If love is unlimited and always, then love is free. Love is that which is perfectly free. Now, in human reality, you will find that you always seek to love and to be loved. You will find that you will always yearn for that love to be unlimited. And you will find that you will always wish that you could be free to express it. You seek freedom, unlimitedness, and eternally in every experience of love. You may not always get it, but that is what you will seek. You will seek this because that is what love is. And at some deep place, you know that because you are love, and through the expression of love, you are seeking to know and to experience who and what you are. You are life expressing life, love expressing love, God expressing God. All these words are therefore synonymous. Think of them as the same thing. God, life, love, unlimited, eternal, free, anything, which is not one of these things, is not any of these things, You are all of these things, and you will seek to experience yourself as all of these things sooner or later. What does that mean, sooner or later? It depends on when you get over your fear. As I've said, fear is false evidence appearing real. It is that which you are not. You will seek experience. You will seek to experience that which you are when you are through experiencing that which you are not. Who wants to experience fear? Nobody wants to, but you're taught to. A child experiences no fear. He thinks he can do anything. Nor does a child experience a lack of freedom. She thinks she can love anyone. Nor does a child experience a lack of life. Children believe they will live forever, and people who act like children think nothing can hurt them. Nor does a child know any ungodly things until that child is taught ungodly things by grown-ups. And so, children run around naked and they hug everyone, thinking nothing of it. If adults could only do the same thing. Well, children do so with the beauty of innocence. Adults cannot get back that innocence because when adults get naked, there's that sex thing. Yes, and of course, God forbade that sex thing be innocent and freely experienced. Oh, and of course, God forbid that that sex thing be innocent and freely experienced. Well, actually, God did forbid it. Adam and Eve were perfectly happy running around naked in the Garden of Eden until Eve ate the fruit of the tree, the knowledge of good and evil, and then you condemned us to our present state, for we are all guilty of that original sin. I did no such thing. I know. I had to give organized religion a shot there. Well, try to avoid that if you can. Yes, I should. Organized religions have very little sense of humor. Well, there you go. Sorry. I was saying, you will strive as a species to experience a love that is unlimited, eternal and free, the institution of marriage that has been your attempt at creating eternity. With it, you agreed to become partners for life, but this did little to produce a love which was unlimited and free.
Let's stop there.
Yeah.
We've been doing these book things for a long time. This is one of the longer chapters. In my opinion, it was very compelling. And there's lots of things to discuss here. And so, where we left off today, next time, so it's on a roll. Actually, there's only a page and a half left. Should we just finish it?
I think we should just finish it, please.
Okay.
Because that's all I have is a page and a half.
Is that okay with you, Linda?
Yeah, hang on a second, okay? I just had someone walk in the room. Hang on.
Okay. And then, as I said before, we can just all reread. And we can have a real good discussion.
Yeah, it really is a hard opening chapter for me.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, guys, so you want me to go on?
Yeah, but it's only a page, not even 2 pages.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, let's see now. Okay, so this is Neil again. Why not? If the marriage is freely chosen, isn't it an expression of freedom? And to say that, you're going to be demonstrating your love sexually with no one else but your spouse is not a limitation, it's a choice. And a choice is not a limitation. It is the exercise of freedom. So long as that continues to be the choice, yes. Well, it has to be. That was the promise. Yes, but that's where the trouble begins. Help me here. Look, there may come a time when you want to experience a high degree of specialness in a relationship. Not that one person is more special to you than another, but that the way you choose to demonstrate with one person the depth of love you have for all people, for life itself, is unique to that person alone. Indeed, the way you now demonstrate love to each person you do love is unique. You demonstrate your love to no two people in exactly the same way because you are a creature and a creator of originality. Everything you create is original. It is not possible for any thought, word, or action to be duplicative. You cannot duplicate, you can only originate. Do you know why no two snowflakes are alike? Because it is impossible for them to be. Creation is not duplication, and the creator can only create. That is why no two snowflakes are alike, no two people are alike, no two thoughts are alike, no two relationships are alike, no two of anything are alike. The universe and everything in it exists in singular form, and there is truly nothing else like it. This is the divine dichotomy again. Everything is singular, yet everything is one. Exactly. Each finger on your hand is different, yet it is all the same hand. The air in your house the air in your house is the air that is everywhere, yet the air from room to room is not the same and feels markedly different. It is the same with people. All people are one, yet no two people are alike. You could not, therefore, love two people in the same way, even if you tried. And you could never want to, because love is a unique response to that which is unique. So when you demonstrate your love to one person, you are doing so in a way in which you cannot do to another. Your thoughts, words, and actions, your responses, are literally impossible to duplicate. They're one of a kind, just as is the person for whom you have these feelings. If the time has come when you have desired this special demonstration with one person alone, then choose it, as you say, announce it, and declare it. Yet make your declaration and announcement moment to moment of your freedom, not of your ongoing obligation. For true love is always free. Obligation cannot exist in the space of love. If you see your decision to express your love in a particular way with only one particular other as a sacred promise, never to be broken, the day may come when you will experience that promise as an obligation and you will resent it. Yet if you see this decision not as a promise made only once, but as a free choice made over and over, that day of resentment will never come. Remember this, there is only one sacred promise, and that is to tell and live your truth. All other promises are forfeitures of freedom, and that can never be sacred. For freedom is who you are. It is if you forfeit freedom, you forfeit yourself, and that is not a sacrament. That is a blasphemy.
Wow. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, it's an intense chapter, and I'm going to try my hardest to get this up today on the website, the Facebook pages. And I really do, this chapter is worth us rereading on our own and then come and discuss, because I have a lot of questions too. And I think it'll be patient. And for those who are listening to the recording, we don't usually read the whole hour. I was kind of glued to what was being read. So just so people who may be listening for the first, this is not how we usually do it, but it was 45 minutes into the hour before I realized we'd already gone 45 minutes. But
I was reading along, and for a while there, I thought, oh my God, what if I got disconnected? And I'm just sitting here reading, and they're all gone somewhere else.
That would be funny in hindsight. Let's just meet next week, and we'll take it from there. And I'm really looking forward to a very lively and healthy discussion about chapter.
Sounds good.
Have a great week, everybody. So
all right,
nice.
love you all.
Love you all.
Yeah, I love you too. Bye.
Bye.
And
Bye-bye.
Benji loves you too. Benji loves you too.
Yep. Okay. Bye-bye, Benji.
Bye.